Hi, Don Joseph here with Simply Core Fit. So I wanted to talk a little bit about mobility. So I figured, why not do it while sitting in a vineyard at St. Hubertus here in Kelowna, British Columbia, the beautiful lake background. Grab yourself a tennis ball. For this one, we're going to talk about some tennis ball rolling. So we tend to put all our focus around strength, which is great, and stabilize, which is great. But if you try and load something that doesn't move well, that's typically where you're going to get pain or compensation. So the tennis ball is a great little tool, especially if you're not getting out and getting to a therapist as quick as you would like to. Having this at home might be a bit of a savior. So let's start with your calves, because calves inherently are really tight. You're going to place that under your calf and just give it a little roll. So not big rolls. The key is just to kind of find your tight spots. So if you're thinking, work around the really tight spots and then work onto them. If that's not enough, then you can cross your opposite foot over and do some gentle rolling there. So I'm not lifting my bum up. Try and sit fairly tall through your back, but you're basically just trying to find your spots. And make sure you try rolling to the outside. So there you can lift your bum a little bit if you need to move a little more, and then also rotate onto the inside so that you're feeling the inside of that calf as well. So work right down nice and low. So it might be just kind of approaching that Achilles area right at the base there. Or you may have to move right up. So you have your soleus and your gastrocs. Gastrocs are the big, round, beefy part of your calves. Get into that, but also down into those deeper muscles. So you're gonna do both legs on that. You can find your spot. So this will help with your ankle mobility. So often we kind of bend forward in our squats, or we have these funky squats, our knees don't track right, and that might all be coming from your ankle mobility, which is often just tight calves. And tight calves will also create all kinds of problems in your knees. So knee pain, very typically tight calves. Getting into plantar fasciitis, tight calves. So make sure you are rolling those calves out. If you're going somewhere, you're going to be wearing flip-flops on holiday, or if it's getting warmer out where you are, you're going to be into flip-flops. That's a very unsupported shoe, very flat. That'll tend to cause a lot of problems. So be rolling your calves out. If you're going to be walking in sand, then your heel's almost on a negative. It's below where your foot is. Tight calves. So if you haven't heard me say it before, calves are often very tight and cause lots of problems. So roll those calves out daily. So let's work up into those glutes. So we're going to place that ball down. I'm going to bend I'm going to straighten the leg that you're actually putting that ball under so that I can lift up if I need to. So if it's too much, roll off the ball or push up through that other foot and get off the ball. So start kind of in the middle, find your groove, and then try and work up a little higher. So I'm working up towards my pant line and towards the side of my body. So you'll find your spots, and you can roll a little bit over, right onto your back, whatever feels okay. There should never ever be sharp shooting pain. That goes for any exercise, any mobility exercise. If you need to, just lie on a spot and try and let it go. If it's really gripping, I wouldn't get right on that spot yet. I'd work around it. And again, you're just working slowly. So often when you get right up, kind of, here's my hip bone, just back from there, right up into here, that's often a really tight little spot in there. But if you can get that to release, so again, you are doing this pain-free, so it might mean you stay off it a little bit, or you use a roller, a foam roller right now. So there is another video on foam rollers. That is much less aggressive than getting in there with the tennis ball. So let's try that other side. Again, if you've got one side that's really tight and the other side is not so tight, focus on the really tight side. So does it mean you need to roll both of them every single day? Well, you want to keep mobility in both of them, but if one side is like, then definitely work into that side. On that point, if you do have something that's really gripping and tightening, you can stretch it all you want, but there's a reason that it feels that tight. And usually it's that we need to repattern something else. So for example, hip flexors. Many people tell me, oh my gosh, my hip flexors, they're just so tight. Like I need to stretch my hip flexors. Yeah, you might need to stretch your hip flexors, but most likely you need to get into strengthening something else, which often is, let's say, the glutes, or get into some proper core training so that the hip flexors stop trying to do everything for you. So the same thing with the calves. When we have really tight calves, they're sometimes just overworking to compensate for the fact that your glutes and your bum muscles do not work. So sometimes it's just a matter of repatterning, getting the right muscles to work so that the other muscles can back off. All right, let's move on. So take that ball. We're gonna work into your chest. So you can do these sitting up. So easy enough to take it with you in the car. I have a client that has a tennis ball in her car. She does a lot of work in her car. So she just massages between, she has to lift clients for her job. She just does some little massages so that her shoulders feel a little better and her back feels a little better. So you can play with that. This is where you really find out if you have some knots. So it kind of goes goo-goo as it goes across there. So when you come down to the floor, we're gonna lie down with your arm at 90 degrees. I'm gonna demo on this arm first. And you're going to just lie right down on that tennis ball. And then just move yourself around slowly. Again, if you find a spot, just chill out. Take a few deep breaths in. So on those really tight spots, you want to think about when you throw a rock like into a flat lake, it's got those rings and then the rings just disappear. Think of that as that pain, that tightness. You're letting the rings disappear. So you want to roll right over towards your center line. If you are a little bigger in the chest area and this doesn't work for you, sitting up may be a better option, or you may just find you need to prop yourself up slightly in different areas. Look away is another way, so switch that over to the other side if you need to. Good, so breathing. Got a nice little plane overhead, going for a nice little flight over the vineyards today. All right, so I'm excited that these vineyards are going to be all covered in nice green leaves and then grapes and then wine in a few months. But here we are in the spring in St. Hubertus Vineyard. All right, so that's your pectorals. Those are your chest muscles. So if you have a lot of back pain, we tend to focus like my back. If these are tight, they're pulling you into that position, which is putting a constant pull on that back. So here's one that'll actually make your back feel better, but you can do all of these. If you don't open up that chest, then it's probably never going to resolve itself. So on this one, before I lie down on it, I'm going to just show you where that ball goes, right inside your shoulder blades. So lying down, you're going to roll onto it slowly. So again, be ready to roll off that ball. Don't put all your weight on the ball for any of these. If you'd like, you can do a little overhead motion with those arms. So just take a range of motion, down and up. So you're staying above the base of that shoulder blade. And we're gonna roll down a little bit. So it's gonna roll the ball up. You rolled your body down. Good, so nice and slow. You can always take it across your chest if you'd like. So play with that a little bit. You can come down a little further. So we're moving the ball up just beside the spine. So you're not on your spine, you're just inside the spine, between the shoulder blade and the spine, and then work right up. Again, if this is sending like sharp pain up into your neck, this is not your move yet. You need something a little more subtle, a little more gentle, and then you can come back to this exercise or not. All right, so there you go. We don't want to be way up on your traps, way up into that neck. There'll be a certain point where it really doesn't feel okay. Yeah, you'll find it. But otherwise, you can roll up and down. So try that other side, move over to that other side. So again, nice little range up and down. Lower body, you can keep those knees bent, whatever's comfortable, that your spine feels good on the floor. And you're either just moving yourself up or down a little bit. And the arm can take it across the chest. So if we have one side that's really, really tight, work a little more on that side, but make sure you're doing both sides. So I love this one. When my back gets really tight, I just find it feels really nice. But sometimes I just need to roll on a foam roller, so it's something that's got much more surface area, spreads out the tightness a little bit, so spreads out the pain of actually rolling it out. So if this isn't too intense, I'm going through a bunch of exercises, but it doesn't mean you need to do them all. It just means you find the ones that work for you. So that's some tennis ball rolling in your upper back, your pectorals, your glutes, and your calves. So when you get up, roll over sideways just to protect that spine. So again, if you have any other tight areas and you want to hear more about, well, how do I get the tightness out of this? You have questions, or if you just have suggestions, or hey, can we use this thing? I've got this contraption at home. How do we use it? Those are the things I want to hear about from you. So make sure you are messaging me. Leave me a little message. Throw it out on Facebook, Simply Core Fit, on Instagram. Let the community know, because you are probably not the only one with that question. So make sure we're talking about this, and let's get everybody moving better and feeling better.